It's difficult to overstate the level of enthusiasm and positivity with which Harry and Meghan were greeted with when they first announced their relationship, and then of course their engagement in November 2017. We were summoned very quickly really to the sunken garden at Kensington Palace for this big reveal of the happy couple who were newly engaged, the first sight of the big ring that Harry had proposed with, they say, while they were cooking a roast chicken in Nottingham Cottage on a quiet night. And it was clear that Harry and Meghan were prepared to break a few rules and show that they were going to be different. And in large part, even though there was clearly some level of negativity from the British press in those early days, there was a lot of enthusiasm. There was so much warmth towards them, and they were clearly prepared to reach into communities, particularly in the UK, where the royals often couldn't connect. They couldn't get there.
All of a sudden, there's Meghan walking straight towards me, and I just simply put my arms around her and loved her. And I said, "You're absolutely wonderful."
It's cool to see both of them, like our royal family and Meghan from Suits. It's really cool.
I love her as a person, so it was actually so cool to be able to shake her hand.
Meghan Markle now very much part of Team Windsor. William, Kate, Harry, and now an American, the modern face of the British royals. They chose Michelle Hussein, a very experienced, very serious British journalist of Pakistani descent, to conduct that landmark first interview. A very different choice, and again, it was another sign that they were going to do things differently.
It happened a few weeks ago, earlier this month, here at our cottage. Just a standard, typical night for us.
Cozy night. What were we doing? Just roasting chicken and
Roasting
having
chicken, trying
trying to roast the chicken, and it just an amazing surprise. It was so sweet and natural and very romantic. He got on me.
From that point, after that engagement announcement, they really began what became a very frenetic and busy tour of the UK. They were going out into the regions right across England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland as well. I remember being there in Nottingham during their first visit outside of London following their engagement, and the crowds were huge. Everyone was so keen to see them, and Meghan was clearly still learning how to do these engagements, how to do the walkabouts, and at one point she goes to get in the car and then stops and wants to run across and see someone again and try and engage with the crowds on the side there, and the security seemed to be caught off guard, but it was a very natural moment, it seemed. She was wanting to connect with those people. They went right across the UK, and there was one particular day that stands out to me. They were in Brixton, a very multicultural part of South London. They were visiting a local radio station there. And the crowds that had come out were there after school. And I remember talking to some black British schoolgirls who were there, and they were so enthused to be there, and they could really see themselves in Meghan. He was this biracial, the daughter of a black American who was going to marry into the royal family.
It began with a love story fit for a fairy tale, and their wedding was nothing but. Emerging in a veil and her first tiara, Meghan Markle takes her last steps as a commoner. That
week leading up to the wedding was probably the best weather that we'd had in London and the UK for many, many weeks. The sun shone every single day, not a cloud in the sky, and it meant that there was a lot of excitement for people getting outside and celebrating this marriage between Harry and Meghan. It really augured quite well, but as the week went on, things kind of started to disintegrate for Meghan. Her father had been captured by press, it would seem. We later learnt they were set up photos, reading books about the UK and studying about England, and then all of a sudden he wasn't coming. He'd suffered a health setback. I remember when that was announced that Thomas Markle wasn't going to be coming to the wedding, and calling the Kensington Palace press office to confirm that and try and work out who was going to walk Meghan down the aisle. And when they answered, you could hear the chaos in the background. This had caught them off guard. It was a moment that had really thrown a spanner in the works, not just of this perfect public image that they were trying to represent with Harry and Meghan, but also the planning of the wedding. Ultimately, of course, it seemed really sweet. Charles walking Meghan down the aisle, this chapel, St George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, transformed into another world.
I, Harry, take you, Meghan,
To be my wife,
to be my wife,
to love and to cherish,
To love and to cherish,
till death us do part.
till death us do part.
Harry and Meghan entering the chapel alone, emerging together as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, sealing their new union with a kiss. They delighted fans with a procession down the long walk before riding off to celebrate their day.
Two plane tickets, 3 passengers.
Are you excited to be here, Harry?
Arriving in Sydney yesterday, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex had a secret. The royal couple was in fact a trio they were expecting. When Meghan and Harry walked out of Sydney Airport, Meghan dressed in black with a burgundy trim on her jacket, she was carrying a set of binders. Turns out they were hiding a little surprise.
Beaming from their Californian home, Meghan and Harry's joy captured in a snap. Their family of 3 now growing to 4 after it was confirmed 2-year-old Archie is going to be a big brother.
I think for the first time there were people in the UK in black and ethnic minority communities who felt like they were being represented inside the palace walls. That is why, in large part, when Megxit was announced in January 2020, it was a real shock, and for a lot of people it was a real blow because they felt like Meghan and Harry were turning their backs on this huge opportunity that had been handed to them to connect the royal family and the palace and this great British institution to real people.
Harry and Meghan going rogue, resigning from the royal family.
The way this has been handled is simply chaotic.
The Sussexes, determined to do things their way, did just that, announcing the bombshell on Instagram. We intend to step back as senior members of the royal family and work to become financially independent while continuing to fully support Her Majesty the Queen. But the Queen wasn't told.
That is therefore duplicitous or, at best, an extraordinarily irresponsible way to behave.
Palace sources say the 93-year-old is deeply disappointed, releasing this terse statement. Discussions with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are at an early stage. We understand their desire to take a different approach, but these are complicated issues that will take time to work through.
It's a very real thing to be going through behind the scenes.
No one expected it to come to this.
So Harry and Meghan giving up their royal life, what were they going to do? They were going to have to pave their own way. The Queen, the late Queen, during the Sandringham summits that were taking place to try and map out their future, made it very clear that there was no half in, half out. You couldn't be half a working royal and half not. So if they were going to leave, they needed to leave and they needed to pay their own way. Now, Charles did help with a lot of the money, but they were going to have to work out another form of income, and that meant big multi-million-dollar deals with the likes of Spotify and Netflix.
No? Ladies first?
No, say it, because I think it sounds really nice with your accent.
What, Archwell Audio?
Yeah.
Archwell Audio.
I mean...
Really?
Those documentaries, hugely controversial. I think Meghan gave an insight into the way that she saw the royals that didn't go down very well with a lot of people in the UK in particular, almost mocking the late Queen with her curtsy. And then it descended into effectively homewares and cooking in the kitchen because these big Spotify podcasts and the Netflix documentaries just weren't landing. It seems as though that those big American deals, particularly with the streaming platforms and podcasts, have run out. And Harry and Meghan are returning now to the UK. There is a lot of talk in the UK about whether they're returning with their tails between their legs. Is the American dream over? Harry's clearly felt the distance though between his family, that breakdown of the relationship between himself and his father, the King, and of course his brother, Prince William. There was a meeting during his return to the UK in July 2026 where he did manage to spend time with the King at Highgrove. And maybe that was the moment that Harry realised, yeah, I want to come back and see Dad, who's had cancer, and for my children to reconnect with their grandfather, who they've barely spent any time with. There are big questions though now about how this is going to work. If they're not going to be working royals, then how are they going to earn an income? Meghan says she's going to continue with the As Ever brand, which is effectively jams. Is that going to be enough to sustain them and pay school fees, for example, and their security, of course, because Harry lost those cases where he was trying to get the British government to pay for their security. The palace says there'll be no half in, half out still. Will there be an opportunity for Harry to work with his charities, even if he's not a working royal as such? There are still ways that he can contribute to British life and British society. And how much time will Meghan spend there? How much time will Archie and Lilibet spend with their cousins, particularly the Waleses? Is that relationship with Harry and William back on a good footing? How will Meghan and Kate spend time? We know that they have been pretty split apart for many years now. So the timing is different, it's unusual, but it does mean that in the next couple of weeks, when Archie and Lilibet go into these English schools that they've been enrolled in, Harry and Meghan are going to be English school parents, somewhere we think in the English countryside, probably in the Cotswolds, dropping the kids off to school like everybody else.